back again, everyone. If you remember last time, I put the engine in, frames in the jig, and the down tube which came down, I actually cut that out. So that's the down tube, and I've now dressed it all up ready, so ready to put a new down tube in. Now that's the old down tube which whoever modified the frame used, and you can even see, I don't know if you can make that out there, but it's even got the serial number on. It's old scaffold part of a building site, and a bit overkill, so I'm going to replace it with this pipe here, which is a lot thinner and it looks more in proportion to the bike. And also these brackets at the bottom here, which are about 8 or 10 millimeters thick, I'm going to make something a little bit lighter. Now, cutting the tube into to match here is at quite an angle, and the two pipes are at different diameters. So I've been reading up. I got a load of old magazines from Backstreet Hero, and there's Mr. Bridges' notebook in there. Really recommend reading those if you ever get the chance. It's got a lot of useful information, not just on little bits and pieces, but he actually builds frames and modifies anything from electricity to the, say, building the frame. So really good read. Now, one of the things I was looking at in there is on building a frame and joining tubes together, and as he mentions, one of the first things you do on a frame is one of the hardest joints to create, and he's quite right, because the easiest one is the same diameter pipe joining it at 90 degrees. The hardest one is when the different size pipes and they're not at 90 degrees, and that's what we've got here. The headstock is, I'll just move you there so you can see it here, it's about 48 millimeters, a lot bigger than the pipe which I'm using here. Now, the headstock is about the same diameter as the scaffold pipe which I took off, so I'm going to use that as a guide when I'm doing the measuring. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but he shows measuring if they're at an angle, and he's got this little diagram here where you've got to measure back 1/3 of the diameter and 1/3 of the diameter from each of the corners. However, if you're not using the same diameter pipe, he shows here where you chock up the smaller pipe so the centre line's the same, and then you might measure from the very tip there to where it touches the pipe. So, got the pipe, the bigger one, I've raised that up so that the centre line of this pipe's going to be exactly the same. Now, I've just got a little offcut, and when I put that in there and get my ruler, and I measure the ruler along the top to where it actually touches the pipe, then take the measurement, that's about 6.5 millimeters. So what I've done with this pipe here is I've put a line right there round it at the same dimension away, so it's 6.5 millimeters perpendicular to this flat surface, okay, of the pipe. Mark that right the way around, and then what I've done is the gap was about 6.5 millimeters, so that's 6.5 millimeters. I've measured from that corner to here and here, so that's 6.5 millimeters away, and the same from the top corner, from there down 6.5 millimeters, and then I've drawn a line along the sides where we need to remove the material. So basically it's around there and around here, and like it shows in the book, they're not even. This one looks a lot bigger than that, but they are going down the same depth. So the easiest way I think to do that, looking at it, will be to just get the angle grinder and grind away these areas. Right, so round the corners of that, and I've also chamfered them so that when I go to weld I've got a nice chamfer to fill into with the weld. So that's about where it's going. It's fitting quite nicely, that. Get the rest with the weld. Now the next thing is going to be the brackets to hold it on. As I said, these ones were monstrous. I've got some flat bar here, a lot thinner, and I was hoping to use this to make a few brackets, similar type of thing. I don't know if you can see that I've just been marking with French chalk a line there where I'm hoping to cut it and pop it onto there. That's it. So I'll just go and drill the hole out, cut that and cut two of those out, and then I'll be back with you. Right, that's it. So now I just need to figure out whereabouts to bend them. I haven't got it on my template. Right, so bent those two now, so they're ready to go on. Just remembered at the last minute, before I bent them, that I needed to leave a little bit of room for some spaces either side, so when I'm taking the engine in and out, we've got a little bit of a wriggle room. So what I'm going to do, for now, let's pop a few washers on there, and that's going to have to be a spacer which I'm going to have to make. So, same on the other side, a few washers on. Right, it's lovely. So I'll be able to fill these in with weld and then grind it round so it blends in nicely. Got a little bit of room behind there, that's good. Now then, the height of this pipe, that's the next thing. I want to cut it just below, so let's see, so I can mark it. So maybe it's about 1/4 of an inch below that bracket. And that's where I'm going to take it off either side. And I've got some pipe, and I've had this in my pipe bender just to give it a bit of a demo, and you can see being able to bend that. And what I was going to do is make two to go under there, one either side, join it here, so it'll form like a Y at the bottom. And if I can take this pipe out, what I was hoping to do, where the join at the bottom, where that goes in, we're going to have, normally people put them on the side and take them in. I don't like the idea of having this big hole at the bottom here open. So what I was hoping to do was try to squash this pipe so it's a bit more oval, and then put those two to blend into it, so that I have a nice flow into it rather than this step idea. I wanted to look nice and neat. I don't want to look like it's just bits clagged on here and there. I want it to look like it's grew there, if you know what I mean. Right, so next thing then, I'm going to cut it and then squash the end so it matches up to these two pipes, the right size. Then I'll weld it onto here, and then I'll be able to unbolt that and take it off and finish off all the welds and grind it right round before it's actually in place on the bike. Then I'll bolt it back into place and then weld it on the top. See, it's a nice feeling this, getting to this stage, because up to now everything's been finding all the faults, tearing the bike down, taking it to pieces. Now we're starting to put it back together and see now it's starting to take shape just a little bit, so it gives you that little bit of motivation to keep on going. Right, so this pipe comes down now. I've cut it, but these bars that are going around the side here, they're going to come in at around about a 40-degree angle. So what I'm going to do for the Y, instead of all the chamfer being on the sidebars, what I'm going to do is cut this at 20 degrees either way. So that's inclined by 20 degrees, and so will the bars that come in at 20 degrees. So that'll make up the full 40 degrees. So let's see. So I'll flatten the bar, or the pipe should I say, and I've got this set to 20 degrees, so I'm just going to mark either side. Right, so see if I can get these two chopped. Right, so I've cut the end of that, and I've added a nice chamfer on so that when I weld it I can get enough penetration in there. So as I say, I'm going to spot it into place on this bottom engine mounting, or the top engine mounting at the front. Spot it on here. I'm not fixed to the frame yet, so I'm going to take it off to clean it up a bit first. Right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a measurement inside of there. So we've got 111 millimeters. So I'll put a threaded bar, or maybe it's this stud if it's got enough thread on it, between them, so when I weld it up they don't pull in. Right, that'll do for now. So you can see I've tried to build up the weld so that when you look at it we can go straight across. So what I'll do is I'll give that a going over the grinder and the sander, and then see where the low spots are, and then just fill them in a little bit, and then that'll be ready to go back on there. Well folks, I think I'm going to call it a night. It's 7:15, winter's evening. I think I better get myself in and get some tea. So hopefully next time I'll get the front bar in, welded in, and I want to think about making the engine bars underneath. So thanks again for watching, take care, and I'll see you next time.